All
Yeah.
right.
Cool.
Okay. Now I get nervous.
I know. I'm sweating.
Hi, and welcome to TomTalks. My name is Nona. I'm the Associate Director of the One World, One Water Center, and today I am joined by...
I'm Jennifer Riley Chetwynd. I'm the co-director of the One World, One Water Center, oh wow, and Director of Marketing and Social Responsibility at Denver Botanic Gardens.
I'm Hope Bartlett, and I'm the University Relations and Sustainability Specialist for the One World, One Water Center.
Thank you so much for being here, guys. We are doing something a little different and a little new with TomTalks today. I was really excited to prepare for this video today. How about you guys?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So today we are going to be discussing and reviewing the film, The Biggest Little Farm. This film was released in 2018. It is available on Hulu. It is available to rent off of the Biggest Little Farm website. And I believe it's also for rent on Amazon. So after you watch our video today, you can find it in a lot of different ways to watch it too. And according to the Biggest Little Farm's website, they describe the movie as a chronicle of the 8-year quest of John and Molly Chester as they trade city living for 200 acres of barren farmland and a dream to harvest in harmony with nature. Through perseverance and embracing the opportunity provided by nature's conflicts, the Chesters unlock and uncover a biodiverse design for living that exists far beyond their farm, its seasons, and our wildest imagination. So very compelling stuff. I found this film to be an emotional journey. It really got me in a lot of ways. And I definitely found a lot of different themes and messages kind of threaded throughout the film. Jennifer, did you find anything that really stuck with you in the film?
Well, I've now seen it twice. The first time I saw it was on an airplane, and you never really fully remember films that you see on airplanes, but for some reason this one stuck with me. It truly does have something for everyone. I mean, I view a lot of the world with an environmental or sustainability overlay, and there's certainly that, but the food theme woven throughout, the trying to establish an equilibrium with nature is woven throughout, animals, plants, water. There were so many compelling elements that the second time I watched it, I even got more out of it. The human experience and that desire to really establish a balance between our lives and nature was just such a powerful message.
That's really well put. I found for myself one of the things that struck me the most while watching the entire film was this overwhelming sense of purpose. The film opens with the Chesters coming to terms with this idea of buying a farm and farming in this really unique way, and how that would give their lives a sense of purpose. And then the film kind of grows to encompass the purpose of everything on the farm, from not only the owners, but the farmhands, predators, livestock, wildlife, crops, water, air, like all of this stuff, and how everything has a purpose. And it was really compelling. It really kind of struck me throughout the entire film, this thread of purpose. How about you, Hope?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this movie was just so pure and precious, and I was crying happy tears, sad tears the whole time. It was such a good film. And my biggest takeaway was the importance of working with nature instead of against it. With each issue that the farm happened upon, the solution was to integrate another form of natural habitat to create a really healthy, thriving farm. The farm uses biomimicry, which I love and I'm super interested in. And it's basically mimicking nature as much as possible, which leads to less destructive and healthier farm. A really big way that the Chesters do this in the film is through cover crop. So Jennifer, can you talk a little bit about cover crop? It's really important not only for soil health, but to replenish aquifers and protect that land from flooding. What are some native cover crops in Colorado, and how can homeowners in our area implement them to create a healthier and more native yard?
Yeah, so we here at Denver Botanic Gardens focus on horticulture and agriculture. At our Chatfield Farms location, we have a man at the helm there, Larry Vickerman, who has spent a lot of time assessing the benefits of cover crops. He and his team have employed them in our agricultural operations to reduce soil runoff, to reduce the need for synthetic fertilizers, and to improve organic content in the soil. And an overarching benefit, especially for us at OWOW and with a commitment to water efficiency, is all of these benefits reduce the need for irrigation. So all of these benefits help the soil maintain moisture, which the side effect is you don't have to water it as much. So I asked him for some native recommendations of cover crops. Sadly, he said, Colorado isn't blessed with natural cover crops. He said, but that doesn't mean there aren't great options. Buckwheat is a great cover crop. I specifically said, yeah, edible ones or pollinator friendly ones. So buckwheat was one of his suggestions. It produces a lot of flowers for pollinators. American vetch and red clover are also good. Those are perennials, and they also are beneficial toward pollinators. Austrian winter peas is one that he recommends, that it has edible leaves and pods. So there are some options for Colorado gardeners and farmers.
Awesome, thank you.
And that's really interesting. I hadn't thought of cover crops as being edibles as well, like human edibles, not just, for other animals and pests and stuff like that. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, in the movie, they obviously focus on the benefit for animals and grazing their animals there, which has, many benefits, not just feeding the animals, but, them fertilizing and tilling the soil, kind of as aerating the soil as they move along. But yeah, humans can benefit from that too. I mean, let's face it, we're not all going to be able to employ these techniques on a 200-acre plot of land. But, our quarter acre or our raised beds or what have you, we can have like a mini experiment.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question actually for Nona. I know you have more of a biology background, and throughout the film, I was kind of thinking about the line between good and bad, or pest and beneficial animal or living creature was blurred. Establishing an equilibrium is key, and that's probably the main theme woven throughout the film. I'm curious if you could talk about some practical approaches to trying to establish that equilibrium in our own landscapes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Hope mentioned biomimicry earlier, and that's a big part of trying to establish this equilibrium. So I did find this great website because I was curious about this myself as well, and to do in my own gardens and at my own home. And I found this great website called The Micro Gardener, and they had all kinds of great suggestions on their website. And really what they encourage is to establish a natural balance in your own garden can really be achieved by imitating nature, which seems so simple, but actually can be really complicated. So some of the tips that they provided on this website were, you can utilize decaying debris because it breaks down and then naturally puts nutrients back into the ground to help with like soil health and boosting all those nutrients that are needed to get your plants growing. They recommend planting a variety of edibles with different heights and shapes. So again, like you'd see in a forest or a xeriscape garden, something like that. According to John Javons, which I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right, 90% of the time, insects attack unhealthy plants. So when you get, these pests on your plants, I actually just last week, my zucchini plants were attacked by squash bugs, which I'd never seen before. And so I had to start researching how to get rid of these bugs. Why did they come here? How do I get rid of them? What are they doing? And it was not fun. I'm not a fan of bugs like that or the eggs they lay. So that was an interesting experience to go through. But it really, reading this information from the micro gardener made me realize like, oh, those plants probably weren't healthy to begin with, and that's why they ended up here. These squash bugs ended up here and not on other squash plants that I have. They also recommend to help plants that are under attack from pests, you can attract beneficial insects like ladybugs, and they will help manage some pests. And we saw that in the film as well. They do that quite a bit. And also planting perennials, annuals, and shrubs in your garden will not only help attract pollinators, which are great for all gardens everywhere, but they'll also help provide them shelter. So when there's bad weather, these pollinators, butterflies, bees, all of them have some place to go and take shelter. And so I certainly found that super helpful when I was trying to do my own research in how to make my garden a little bit more balanced. One of the things that obviously is so powerful when you're watching the film is the opening scene. The movie opens up to this really stressful scene of the family trying to evacuate from their farm because there's a wildfire. It's a really high intensity scene. And it got me thinking a lot about how, not only are wildfires a huge threat in California, but they're also a huge threat here in Colorado. As we've seen just last week, there's a huge fire in Evergreen, not that far from the city, and a bunch of people were evacuated. These things happen in Colorado. They happen all over the country. And wildfires really contribute to a lot of destruction even after they've been put out. And so I'm wondering, Hope, if you have any information on kind of how wildfires contribute to damage post-fire weather events.
Yeah, absolutely. So the most intense post-fire weather event is obviously floods. So wildfires dramatically alter the terrain and ground conditions. Normally, vegetation absorb rainfall, reduce runoff, but wildfires leave the ground burned, barren, and unable to absorb water, which creates the perfect conditions for flash flooding and mudslides. Flash floods are particularly really common after fires and can occur within just minutes of rainfall in an area that was affected by a fire. As rainwater moves throughout the burnt ground and where the fire was, mudslides are formed, which not only cause damage to the terrain, but also wreak havoc in populated areas, causing huge amounts of damage to property, homes, businesses. And another huge problem with wildfires is that the rainwater also picks up sediment, burnt debris, and a lot of chemicals, which can really affect our water quality as well. Mm-hmm. It's really important that we're all prepared for wildfires, but also prepared for floods after a wildfire. So planting cover crops, replanting trees, and trying to get the vegetation back in the area that a fire swept through is really important to protect the ground and the soil and the water for years and years to come.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I feel like we probably all have seen several examples of that in Colorado, even over the past, 5-6 years of incidents where those post-fire weather events cause a ton of destruction. And so, I was really happy that the film showcased that, because I knew it was coming. Knowing about California weather events, I knew that was coming. It was kind of looming in the back of my mind watching this film, was that, there was going to be drought and a wildfire and floods and mudslides and all of this stuff, and kind of waiting for it to hit the story, the timeline within this film. And I was really happy that, although, the family is safe and they did a great job reacting to all of these incidents, that they didn't just gloss over that they still featured it in the film, and they spoke about it, and they talk about the damage that actually really can do.
Absolutely.
So I don't know about you guys, but I wrote down so many quotes from this movie. I had so many favorite moments. I probably wrote down most of the movie like in a fever as I was watching it. Do you guys have any favorite quotes or moments or anything like that from the film?
I think perhaps my favorite character is Alan York, who is their consultant. And he's this guru, and you're not sure if they're buying in or not buying in. I mean, you have to watch it, because the husband and the wife have very different takes on his advice.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, you know what? That's perfect, because the dog in this film is a main character. So if you're a dog person, you love this film. Their dog Todd is the reason they get a farm. So anyway, Alan York is my favorite character, and I know it was a documentary. I mean, it wasn't like he was cast for this role. He was genuinely a key player, but I just got a kick out of him.
I
Absolutely.
also really liked Alan. But my favorite moment of the movie, I think, was when the pig was giving birth. And it gave birth to like 14 piglets. And they were like, there's another one. She's still coming. Like, she's still giving birth. And I just thought that was like so amazing, where it was like, these people from the city had no idea what they were getting themselves into, rescued this pig basically that was pregnant. And then we're like, all right, well, I guess we're delivering a bunch of piglets. And they were like, usually like 6 to 8 piglets, and she had 14. And they're like, what are we going to do with all these pigs? So it was just, yeah, I loved the whole movie, but that was probably the funnest part for me.
And speaking of the pig, Emma, I loved Emma and Greasy.
Oh, Greasy.
So Greasy was a rooster that I guess was getting picked on by the other roosters and stuff in their farm operation, and so they separated him and put him with Emma. And so for I guess a good chunk of time, Emma, this humongous pig, and Greasy, just this greasy looking rooster, were like best friends. And there's some very, very sweet images of them in the film. It was very cute. One of the quotes that really struck me the hardest when I was watching this film was towards the end, and they're kind of wrapping up their experience with this farm, and because the film is over, I think, 8 years of them kind of building this farm up from the ground. One of the Chesters says, "The hardships we face make the dreams feel so much more alive." And I just found that to be really compelling. It really struck me when they said it, because I think it's true. It's acknowledging that the challenges that we face and the hard work we put into something make the success of those things even sweeter. I was going to wrap up our conversation with asking you both if you'd recommend others watch this film, but I feel like we've already accomplished that. I think it's really obvious that we all loved this film. We loved the lessons that it shares, not only the educational stuff about the environment and gardening and farming and all of this that you can do, but also the life lessons involved in the film as well. So I don't even know that we need to answer that. If you guys have any last thoughts on the film that you'd like to share, please go right ahead.
Just, don't not watch this because you think it's not for you. I don't know who this wouldn't be for.
Mm-hmm. So this idea to review and discuss films is something that we'd like to continue doing. And if you have any suggestions of other environmental films that you think that we should watch, you want to hear our opinions on it, if you care about our opinions that much, we'll bring in other experts as well. It won't just be us. Please leave a note in the comments of wherever you see this video. We'd love to get your ideas and get your thoughts on what we should be doing next with these TomTalks video talks. And so with that, I think we're all done. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.